So when a player joins a game, I'd like to give them two tables of data. I'd like to give them a save data table and a game data table. The save data is the table that you load and save from DataStore, and the game data is just things that we need for, this instance of the game. It just gets thrown away whenever the player leaves. Here's just a little example. Here's some game data inside the table, and there's some save data, the starter save data if they don't have any data yet. And then, it'll get overwritten if they already have save data. So we really want to load and save player data as safely as possible, because the last thing we want is data being lost. I'll probably make more videos to, make a data store module complete. This will get you on the right track, though. It'll, allow you to start having save data, game data, and, using it to test the game. So to start off, I have two module scripts named game data and save data inside of my server module script. And we're going to go ahead and go into the server and start adding some things. So obviously the first thing we'll need is our data store service. And we want to get our data store from that. And whatever name you want to give it. And I'm actually going to make a reference for run service. You'll see why I do this here in a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start setting up the metatables for the save and the game data. And inside this prototype is, where you're going to actually put your data that you're going to pull from. And we're going to use the index meta method. Set it equal to that prototype. We're going to create two new methods, one for new, and we're going to need another method to update data if a player already has data and they join the game. For these arguments, we want the player in the first argument, and then for this update, the data is going to be the second argument. So we're going to strap on the meta table inside of this method. Then we're just going to return that new save data. Then update is pretty similar, except instead of making a new table, we're just going to use the data that the player already has. I'll just rename this to make it a bit easier to read. Rename it old data. And that should be it for the save data. And the game data is pretty much the same thing. I'm just going to change all of these variables. We might not even need this update method. I'm just going to remove it for now and just have the new inside of game data for now. And so inside a server, we just got to put the global, player data tables somewhere. I'll put them right at the bottom here, right before the return server. SD stands for save data, GD stands for game data. You don't have to obfuscate your identifiers this much. I do this because I know how my frameworks work, so I can look at SD and GD and go, okay, that's save data and game data, and it just makes it a bit shorter. All right, so let's make a method to set up the player's save data and game data whenever they join the game. So I'm going to do a method inside a server, call it new player data. Player is going to be the argument. I'm just going to set a key variable, keep it nil for now, async inside of a pcall. I'm just going to make these variables named key get. Second one is going to be air, and that'll be equal to a pcall. Then inside of this pcall function, we are going to set key to the data store get async. and I'm going to use the player's user ID as the key identifier. Key call stands for protected call, so if that get async call errors, we can do something else if it errors. So if key get, then, so if it was successful, if it called get async without any errors, then we want to check if they have a key already. So if the key isn't nil, it means they've played the game before, and they have data that they already have from a previous session that we already saved. So we're just going to add and update some save data to the master global save data table. I'm going to index it using the player's name. You can use the user ID again. You can use a string of the user ID. I just use name because it's a little simpler. Right, we'll do self.saveData, our save data module, and we're going to use our update method, player for the first argument, key for the second argument. Now, if they join in their key is nil, it means they haven't played the game yet, so they're going to need new save data, and we can go ahead and remove that second argument. And then after that if block, we're just going to do some game data to just set up their game data for the session that they're in. And then we'll do self.gameData, and we'll make some new game data from that. So I'm going to branch out again from this key get conditional statement. So I'm going to put an else. All right, I'm going to make another branch off of this key get conditional statement. So we're going to put an else. So if self.run service is studio. So if we're inside a studio, then we're just going to make some brand new save data and some brand new game data. So I'll change those identifiers right there. Looking good. Else we're going to kick the player. That sounds out of left field. For any of you who have been scripting, if you know what this does, that's cool. I'll explain to it after I'm done coding everything, and I'll just do air loading data store inside of here. And this is also a good place to put like a loop to check data stores a few more times just to make sure like it's not an acute error, because if the .me releases an update, they're going to be down for minutes to hours, but it could just be an acute error, and you want to check that, and you want to make sure that players can play your game. Now I'm going to add these next few lines. You don't have to. This will just be so that you can get their save data and game data directly from that new player data method whenever you call it. You can just return it from that. I just do if the player's there, then we will return the table that we made inside of save and the game data. I need self before those. And that should complete the new player data method for now. All right, now we're going to make the method to save the player data when they leave, and then it'll remove it from the global table that we put it inside of. So I'm going to do server and call it remove player data, and we'll need the player as the argument. So right, we're actually going to have to reference this a bit differently. Our SD in this case locally is going to be the single player table that we made, and so will this game data table. And so we're going to check if those even exist, and then we're going to do another p call. I'm going to just put success and then error for the second one and get our p call function set up. And then we're going to use the set async method inside the data store, and then we're going to save it as a player user ID for the key, and then we're going to put in SD, which is our player save table that we made, and then we're just going to do self.sd that player name, we're going to set that to nil. Along with the game data, we leave no traces whenever they leave the game. I don't know, some more stuff could be added to this. This is just a pretty skeletal framework, and it's just to get us off the ground. All right, we're going to set up some events, and then we should be on our way to using the methods that we made. So I'm going to go ahead and make a reference for players. So we'll get our players service. Now we'll do a players.playerAdded. This is inside of a server handler. Connect a callback function to that. And then all we'll have to do is do a local sd, gd equals server, and then we'll do some new player data with the player as the argument. These sd and gd variables are because I made that return inside of the function. Yeah, if you don't have that return, you can just do server new player data with the player. But yeah, that's how I'm gonna do this, just in case I need some local references for those. I should probably do some mock save data. So I don't know, maybe let's just give some XP for just for now, and then I'm just gonna print the sd dot xp, and we'll see if that prints 0. Alright, so that printed 0, so that means that we are making our data tables. Then underneath of this player added, we will use the player removing event, and we will save and remove the data using our method whenever a player leaves the game. So we'll just have to do server and then use our remove player data method. Put in player for that argument, and that should be it. I would recommend publishing the place like that, and then joining and rejoining on the actual game on the website, because player removing is kind of sketchy in this, and you'll just have to read your output. I just did it and it's working. It's saving like a data store should. So it's pretty unsafe to keep API services on inside a studio whenever you're working in your production game environment. So that's what this is handling right here. This if run service is studio, so that if we're in studio, we can still get some save data and game data. Even if our get async doesn't work, because it's not going to work if we turn off API services. Nothing just won't save, but we'll still have that starter data to work with and test the game with. So if I turn that off and play it, I can actually join the game still. It's not going to kick me. We can also do an emergency save. Now I can't guarantee this, but it has worked. It's a last ditch effort. If the game accidentally shuts down while everybody's playing, it'll sweep everybody's data and try and save it all. Again, I can't guarantee this, but this is just a last chance effort if something goes wrong. So I'm going to do game bind to close method, do a callback function on that, and then I'm going to loop through the players in the game. So we're going to do players get players. And right, so I'm actually going to wrap this remove player data inside of a coroutine, so that this pops off as fast as possible before the before we lose the entire game. So I'll do a new thread here. So I'll do coroutine dot create, then a function for that, and inside of that we'll put our remove player data for each player in the game. Yep, and then we'll just go ahead and resume that coroutine so that we can get everybody's save data at once. And yeah, we won't see the effects of this unless something goes wrong. So I guess we're just gonna have to trust it. So as I don't have any ideas for actual games right now, I'm just gonna keep doing framework stuff. So in the future, we're gonna expect some input handling modules. Using like context action service. I'll probably make a series for UI scripting and actually some UI design because they really do go hand in hand. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool. Uh, I hope you guys are understanding this okay. Hopefully, I'm not bogging you down with too much info. Leave in the comments if you guys aren't understanding anything, and I can try and explain stuff as we go along. So I'll see you guys in the next video.